there is no answer to a question shorter than no. And that's exactly what President-elect Raisi said when he was asked if he'd be willing to meet with U.S. President Joe Biden. It was a dismissive answer. It was a short answer. I think it's an answer that's going to resonate and please his conservative supporters, his base who voted for him. These are conservative Iranians who are deeply mistrustful and cynical of Washington and pretty much blame Washington for whatever ails Iran. But I think it's an answer that disappointed and somewhat surprised many Iranians who are criticizing Raisi, especially online, on social media. To many Iranians, Mr. Raisi is going to be Iran's next president. He's going to be the highest representative of Iran on the world stage. And that means he's going to have to deal with a lot of challenging and complicated relationships with powerful governments, and that takes diplomacy. And to many Iranians, that no wasn't exactly a diplomatic answer. I think many Iranians would have preferred if Mr. Raisi would have said he would meet with any president, any government, if they would treat Iran with respect as an equal. But he didn't say that. He said no. Apart from that, there wasn't much substance in this press conference. Obviously, when a president is elected, he holds his first press conference. Many are eager to see if he makes any newsworthy statements, new statements. Nothing that he said was new. Pretty much all that he said was repeats of what he said in his campaign. He said he's going to root out corruption, improve the economy, although he didn't provide many details. He said he's going to have an all-inclusive government. He criticized Washington for pulling out of the nuclear deal and sanctioning Iran, and criticized the European signatories of the Iran nuclear deal for not fulfilling their commitment. And he said he's willing to return to the nuclear deal if the sanctions are lifted. I think to many observers, the fact that Mr. Raisi, what he said was in lockstep with what Iran's supreme leader has said, reinforces what they believe, many Iranians believe, that this was an engineered election to put in place a man like Raisi who will dutifully speak for the establishment and carry out the establishment's wishes. And I think this press conference to them was an indication of that.
Right, Reza, and you talked about that nuclear deal. Those talks are ongoing at the moment. How will the election of Raisi, in your view, and his comments today impact those ongoing talks to revive the nuclear deal?
Yeah, first off, it's important to point out that Mr. Raisi is not president yet. He's president-elect. He will take office in about 6 weeks. And right now, there are no indications that his election is going to impact Iran's position on the nuclear talks and the current talks going on in Vienna, the effort to restore the talks. I think Iran's position with respect to the nuclear deal is not established by the president, is established by the supreme leader and the highest echelons of the establishment. And that position has been made clear, that Iran is willing to go back to the deal if the U.S. lifts sanctions. And the newest demand from Tehran is a guarantee from Washington that the next U.S. administration won't pull out of the deal. That position remains the same. There's no indication that a Raisi presidency or his election is going to change that. It could be that right before Mr. Raisi takes office, the deal could be restored. What's going to be interesting to see is who takes credit for that, if indeed that happens.
Reza Shia for us there.